All right. Sunriver U would like to welcome Sunriver homeowners to the candidate forum for 2026. Today we have three candidates running for three positions on the SROA board. We welcome John Hitt, Kara Kirker, and John Vogel. The way this will happen is each of the candidates is going to have 2 minutes to introduce themselves to you. Then we'll go through questions and we'll alternate who answers each question first. Then, if you have a question you'd like to have a candidate answer, you can type it in the chat. We have a team of people working on consolidating the questions so we don't get too much repetition. So if a question is read out and it's not exactly the wording you typed in, know that we still read your question. We just maybe consolidated it with three other people who had a similar question, and we hope it was answered to your satisfaction. We'll take our last question around 5 o'clock, and then we'll give each candidate an opportunity to make a closing remark. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about where you can find more information, how this information is shared, and what happens next with elections. So we are going to begin now with John Hitt, and your personal introduction, please, John. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Gwen. You hear me okay? Yes. Hello to everyone that's there or online. My name is John Hitt. My wife and I have owned a home there in Sunriver since 2013. We came to Sunriver for many years prior to that, just as vacation renters. I believe the bulk of my background and experience are pretty close to what the board of directors does. I was in local government, city and county in Oregon for almost 25 years. And that experience included planning, economic development, and for about 16, 17 years, administration. I was a city manager in 3 separate cities in Oregon prior to my retirement in 2013. So I believe that experience and working with budgets, working with the law, working with public communications, and working and developing a consensus on the board or city council or county commissioners will serve me well, and in turn serving the citizens and the property owners of Sunriver.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Kara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having us here. Thanks for the volunteer work that you're doing. My name is Kara Kirker. I have been a resident of the Pacific Northwest since 1988 when I moved from the East Coast. The year I moved to the Pacific Northwest, I discovered Sunriver, and I've been in love with it ever since. We've been property owners here, my husband and I, for about 25 years. And I would say that this is not a community that we just visit. It's a place that we've invested in, we've advocated for, and we really do genuinely love. We ski it, we bike it, we kayak it, we use the sports and recreation amenities that Sunriver in Central Oregon has to offer. Every Christmas, my kitchen turns into a full-scale cookie production operation with my nieces. It's the place our extended and chosen family gathers. Sunriver is absolutely woven into our family life. Over the years, we've maintained a home here. We've watched Sunriver grow and evolve. I've also watched the world around it change as well. New resort communities are emerging with fresh amenities and modern infrastructure. And my goal is to have Sunriver remain the premier destination of its kind, to be intentional about where it invests, what it protects, how it continues to evolve. And that's a core reason I'm running for the board. By profession, I'm a strategic executive with about 35 years of experience in tech and consulting. I hold a BS and an MBA from Cornell. I've spent my career leading strategic planning, building high-performing teams, managing complex budgets, and directing marketing and operations at the executive level, which I think will suit me well to contribute to the Sunriver Board. My career was built on turning big picture vision into clear priorities and moving organizations from discussion to decision, and then building the financial discipline to see it through.
Kara, I'm going to stop
Yep.
you there. Something you'll all learn is that I am also the timekeeper.
Wonderful.
And I will
problem.
keep us running on time. So John Vogel, it's your turn to introduce yourself.
All right. I'm John Vogel. I've lived in Sunriver since 2018. So getting close to 10 years. With my wife, Kathy. Originally, I was working remote, even pre-pandemic, before it was the cool thing to do. And then I retired after the pandemic. I came to the Northwest to go to college at Lewis and Clark. I've left twice and come back twice. My background is in information technology and finance. I have a master's in information technology, and I did that for 10 years, then transferred or slowly over time moved into finance, which is basically applied computer science and applied math. I'm running for the board. It sounds a little bit like a cliche, but trying to make sure we preserve our quality of life, that we stay relevant as a vacation destination, and that's important if we want to maintain the value of our homes and stay relevant to tourists who come here and allow us to afford many of the amenities that we have. So my approach to problems with a background in IT and finance is data. I'm happy to change my mind on a dime if you show me data that shows me that I'm wrong. So I think the skill I bring to this is a data-driven approach. And we can, I'm sure we'll get into more details about that a little bit later. But that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, John. So now we're going to go into the question rounds, and we have the first question queued up and ready. We will start with Kara and then go to John Vogel, then John Hitt. Okay, and the first question today is, in your opinion, what are the 3 most important issues facing Sunriver today? And before you start, Kara, everybody has 2 minutes to answer. Okay? Go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I think the top 3 things are long-term financial stability in Sunriver. I'm going to list the 3 and then I'll go back to them. The balance between resort character and residential quality of life, and infrastructure and amenity investment. I think that our amenities are a core part of what makes this community extraordinary, and extraordinary things cost money to maintain and grow. Reserve funds are in good shape, and they exist to preserve and maintain the existing capital assets. And I think maintaining what we have is a floor, not a ceiling. We need dedicated funding mechanisms for strategic investment in new amenities and assets that reflect our evolving priorities. Second was the balance between resort character and residential quality of life. Our popularity in Sunriver has grown significantly, and with it comes increased pressure on our pathways, facilities, common areas, and our community's overall character. I think the board needs to manage that growth thoughtfully, enforcing existing policies with consistency and evaluating whether new frameworks are needed to preserve the experience that makes Sunriver special for owners and visitors alike. And the third area was infrastructure and amenity investment. And our trails, recreation facilities, shared spaces face growing demand. And in some cases, existing infrastructure is not sufficiently keeping pace. I mean, pathway congestion is the obvious example. So clear capital improvement roadmap aligned with our community approved strategic plan that prioritizes projects based on owner input, long-term value creation, and competitive positioning relative to other resorts.
Okay, thank you very much. And John Vogel, What are, in your opinion, are the three most important issues facing Sun River today?
Okay, I will echo some of what Kara had to say. I think on the finance side, I spent a year on the finance committee. We are doing well on ongoing costs. I think there's increasing pressure on how to finance new amenities. We're doing well and our reserves are up where they should be. Hopefully the reserve study confirms that. That's happening this summer. But I think we're facing increasing pressure on how to fund new amenities. The days of being able to sneak in a North Pool or a members pool, I think they're behind us now. So if we wanted to do new amenities, which I think we need to do, that's a challenge. I think Bill Burke at the last board meeting said something that along the lines, I think it was repeating what somebody else said, is that the next generation is going to want different amenities than the current generation. And that struck me as so true. When I was 10 years old, a rectangular swimming pool with a diving board on one end was the greatest thing in the world. I don't think that's true anymore. So infrastructure and amenities, again, I kind of echo Kara there. And then finally, safety. There's been a lot of talk about wildfire safety and making sure that we balance the desire for safety with the desire to maintain our forest canopy here and the things that bring people here, which is the forests that are all around our community. So finance, infrastructure, and safety.
Thank you very much, John. And word to John Hitt. What are the three most important issues facing Sun River today, in your opinion?
Well, my thinking here is not radically different from either Kara or John Vogel. Long-term financial viability, I think, is extremely important. I think short-term, looking at the budget and the reserves, things look pretty well. But as time goes on and as economic conditions outside Sun River change, perhaps for the better, perhaps for the worse, we need to be very careful of where we are in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Another priority is maintaining our status as a premier destination resort. Couple mentioned already amenities and keeping amenities up to date with the changing technology and the social environment, big part of that. And last that I have down here is public safety, particularly wildfire safety, particularly. So that's kind of a more immediate one. A longer term one that's a little harder to entirely wrap our arms around, but is extremely important, is changes that may occur with climate, changes that may occur with, again, outside organizations and their interest in us. And so these are all, I think, things that are extremely important for the future of Sun River.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so now for the next question, we'll start with John Vogel. And John, how would you handle a situation where you're getting a feel that majority of owners are disagreeing with a board position that you support?
Okay, I would two thoughts on that. One, as I mentioned before, I am completely data driven. So if somebody felt the board was wrong, I think the board does listen pretty well. It takes a few people asking questions, maybe more than a few, for the board to pivot and spend some time researching. I think we plan to keep one of the pools, I forget the name, it's the North Pool, the member pool, open a little longer, because because people ask for that it shouldn't just close right after Labor Day. So we'll get the data and see if that pans out, if the demand is there. So yeah, I would encourage people to bring data to show that they're right and the board is wrong. And I also want to encourage people to, or I would like to demonstrate when I'm on the board that the board listens. And a lot of times I get the impression that people are, the board doesn't listen. Something I'm like, well, did you go to that task force meeting? Did you sign up for the amenities working group or the pathways group? Surveys, webinars. There's a lot of opportunity for owners, and with Zoom, owners who are not in Sunriver all the time, to have input into what the board does.
All right, thank you very much. John Hitt, you're going to be next, but before you answer the question, we're going to take just a quick minute here. We're getting some feedback from your end, and we're wondering if perhaps you have a second computer or another device logged on, because we're getting an echo.
No, yeah, I'm getting echo on my end too, especially this week. No second device.
Okay.
The computer I own is this.
We'll continue to troubleshoot on this end and see if we can come up with a solution. And in the meantime, I appreciate everybody's patience with technology as we carry on with this. So, John, how would you handle a situation where a majority of owners disagree with a board decision you initially support?
Well, I think the first step is to meet with those owners, preferably the whole board together, meeting with those owners that are unhappy with the decision that's been made, to explore all the reasons why they're unhappy, why they're upset, and then discuss with them possible solutions or possible mitigations, so that we might work with them rather than in an antagonistic way, to find out other pathways, other solutions to what the issue is. And third is, I think I would be prepared to present to the board, if I had some concerns or issues with that decision, possible amendments to that decision, or possible ways to explain it more fully or make it more palatable to the Sunriver owners.
All right, thank you very much. We're trying to troubleshoot the echo. I'm just wondering if you were to log off completely, and then don't do it yet. And then log back in. John, can you go over and do the tech support on that, or can we get Ricky back in the room?
Well, wait a minute.
We need to make sure
I just
our
thought,
tech support's here. And
let me try something first.
okay,
It might be logged in twice.
yeah.
I'm the opposite of the other John. I'm not a tech guy, and so let's see. Let me try one more here. All right, is that any different? No, it doesn't sound like it. All right, so we'll log off. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
A suggestion came in to turn down his volume.
yeah, that came in. John, you might try turning down your volume if you're still there. I might need you to run over and, can you do that? Log him in. Let's go get.
Last man standing.
Yeah, thank you, candidate John.
We all have multiple hats. We're all volunteers.
Now we have Sunriver U, John, helping with solving the problem. Kara, while they're doing that, you certainly could go ahead and answer the question. And just to remind everybody, the question is if how you would handle a situation where a majority of owners disagree with the board decision you support.
Okay, so first of all, like John Vogel, I tend to be data driven, so I definitely would be open to hearing and understanding what data we may have missed. If a majority of owners are pushing back, I think our first responsibility is to genuinely listen, because dissent can be information. It might not just be noise. So I think that making sure we are listening and not maybe performing to listen while waiting to rebut. So I think really being open to what the information is that's coming in. I think the second thing I do is try and distinguish between disagreement that might be rooted in values and disagreement that might be rooted in misunderstanding or incomplete information. So if there is opposition to a decision because the full picture isn't in the owner's hands, then the board has a communication problem to solve. If it's opposition because they hold different priorities, then we have a governance problem, and it deserves a real response, potentially including reconsideration. I definitely would, build on what John Vogel said. There are lots of ways that people can engage, and I'm all for advocating for transparency, town halls, written Q&A, things like advisory committees, and maybe direct owner surveys and pulses before major decisions are finalized whenever possible. If after, genuine engagement, a decision is still unpopular, I would want to have that intellectual honesty to try and revisit my position. Conviction definitely is not the same as stubbornness, and the board has to serve the owners, not the other way around.
Oh, thank you very much, Kara. All right, John, if you're around, could you please try to log in again? And we will add you as a panelist when you do. And we have John, Sunriver, you, John, running back and forth. So we're waiting to see when John logs back in. And while we're waiting for John to log back in, let me once again thank John, Kara, and John for running for the board. Anybody who's ever interested in this, they're always recruiting new board members, kind of starting around the beginning of the year. This process began back January, February timeframe. There's a lot of vetting that happens before a candidate comes to this point. There is an election committee that they go through. You could serve on that election committee, as well as you could run for the board if you're interested. And we are waiting to see John Hitt come back.
Do a question.
Oh, so we're going to go ahead and
catch him up later.
yeah, we're going to go to the next question, and we'll catch him up when he comes back. So let's just go ahead and start with Kara on this next question. Oh, there he is.
Perfect.
Okay, John, let's
Just
hear.
connecting audio.
It's connecting to your audio. Just a minute. Okay, let's see if we can hear you, John. It says it's connected. He needs to there. Okay, say hello, John.
Can you hear me? I can't
Yes,
hear you.
much better. Thank you, John. All right.
I
We're
can
ready to
see
get
you. I
on.
don't know if you see me, but I can't hear you.
All right. So the next question, here we go. What are some
Well,
ways
echo
you
anyway.
okay. What are some ways you could improve homeowner engagement and participation in association affairs? And we're starting with you, John.
I hear you. No, I hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes. Do you want the question again?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. What are some ways you could improve homeowner engagement and participation in SROA affairs?
Well, I think it's, obviously, I don't really know whether we take advantage, I assume we do probably, of all social media sources. And I love the Center River scene, but I realize I'm of an age that not too many of the younger generations read newspapers, which is unfortunate in my opinion. But one of the ways I think that would be helpful, though, apart from expanding social media anyway in every way possible, I think, and this is just an idea, maybe assign a certain section of the Sun River to different board members in different areas, and then invite the board members to get together with one or two citizens in their area and have informal coffee clashes, barbecues, whatever, just so people, I'm a firm believer, meeting face to face, that there is no real replacement for that. And so I think that would get at least every board member in direct personal connection with at least a significant cross section of the Sunriver owners. So that would be an idea. At least I hopefully think is worth discussing. And outside of that, I think overall Sunriver does a good job in communicating. And I certainly have not had any problem. I think the website's very good. I've not had any problem getting the information I wanted.
All right. Thank you, John. And Kara, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I have the question. Thank you. I think engagement follows trust and trust follows transparency. And I've kind of heard this, percolating in the community about transparency. And so I would want to spend some time focusing on where that's coming from. I think a lot of people disengage, not because they don't care, but because maybe they feel the outcome is predetermined, they're not being listened to, their input doesn't matter. And I think working on changing that perception can be a starting point. I would definitely, as John said, take advantage of using all the modern communication tools we have at our disposal, including social media. I would make sure that we're simplifying and modernizing communications, things like meeting summaries that are like short nuggets, 5 minutes, short video updates from board leadership and the board, right? Maybe a digital presence that is very easily accessed. I would probably, continue to make participation lower friction using digital tools that are available to us. And I do think that the amount of virtual meetings that have been made possible for us is really good. I think continuing to use those tools. I also think that finding ways for online comment submissions and maybe even brief pulse surveys on key issues could engage more people. And then I do think that bring the conversation to owners rather than waiting for them to come to us. I think John Hitt had a very good idea in terms of maybe assigning board members to different parts of the community. And that might be a really interesting experiment to go run. I think targeted outreach to all the different constituencies we have here, be it rental owners, seasonal residents, full-time residents, and newer buyers who may feel somewhat disconnected from community governance. And kind of my final thought on this for now is maybe championing kind of a standing owner advisory panel, which could be maybe a rotating group of non-board members who can also be touch points into the community, surface issues, and serve as a two-way communication channel before positions harden.
I have to stop you there. I'm sorry. Lots of good ideas, though, coming out from everybody. And John, do you have some ways that, did we start with you?
No, didn't. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think you've answered this one yet. What are some ways you would improve homeowner engagement?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. I think Kara has good ideas about digital ways. It frustrates me to no end when I've been involved with the Owners Enrichment Committee's happy hours, and even 3 or 4 years into it, people are still, I'm surprised there's happy hours. It's in the scene every month. So you can lead a horse to water. But yeah, I like the idea of whether it's an informal coffee or ways for people to get together informally with board members, and beyond the 3 minutes that you can have at a meeting. Although I also want to recognize that we are all volunteers. So with other things going on in our lives, so I wouldn't want to force that on anybody. But there is work to be done, because a lot of what people see on social media is either inaccurate or not always the full story. And that's something I think the board really needs to work on is to kind of get the word out. And sometimes I think there's an impression that the board just shoves things down people's throats, and that's not true at all, at least in my experience here.
Okay, John, thank you very much. And now we are going to, I lost track of where we started. I think Kara's next for the starting the next question.
All right.
Let me read the question so everybody knows it. I know you have a copy of it. What do you think our community should look like in 10 years? And what steps should the board be taking now to achieve that vision?
Okay, so in 10 years, I want Sun River to be what it's always been when it's been at its best. A world-class destination that's also a genuine community. So infrastructure and facilities that are in great shape, a financial structure that doesn't depend on deferred maintenance or reactive fee increases, and a governance culture that owners can feel proud of and trust. I think the board needs to act in 3 critical areas: lock in sustainable revenue structures, and I think the capital transfer fee is a critical piece of that. I think passing it would get Sun River ahead of the curve compared to other communities that wait until they're in deficit to act. Second is using the strategic planning process to continue to engage owners and develop a 10-year capital improvement plan with clear priorities, cost estimates, funding sources, and perhaps an advisory panel. Third is invest in our community identity. I think programming, communications, and governance practices that remind owners why they have chosen Sun River to begin with and give them a reason to stay engaged. Our competitive advantage has always been the combination of natural beauty, excellent amenities, and community spirit, and the board's job is to protect all of them.
All right, thank you very much. John Vogel?
Okay. Yeah, well, 10 years is a long time. Maybe 10 years, well, maybe 10 years ago, you could have seen pickleball coming down. But I think that if we were to do a 2036 strategic plan, I think some of it is making sure we have the processes in place to fund amenities, some that we can see coming over the next 4 or 5 years, and some that we can't see coming because they're 8 or 9 years out. Whether pickleball or I don't know what'll be the next big thing. And again, also understanding that there are some things in Sun River that should never change, and that's our focus on ecology, our focus on the environment here. We don't want to pave over Sun River. We have over 1,000 acres of land that is basically in a bank that can't be touched. So we want to make sure that anything that we do is consistent with those values that we've always had. And one of the things that I think is wonderful about Sun River is everybody chose to live here. So we all have something in common. And I think sometimes we spend too much time over our disagreements over small things. But yeah, everybody who's here chose to live here. And so we need to make sure that we keep that in mind.
All right, thank you, John. And now, John Hitt, what's your idea of the 10-year plan?
Okay. I think the most important is the most fundamental, and that is to not let anything we currently have or enjoy deteriorate or kind of basically slip away. So that may require a fair bit more effort and money than we currently anticipate because the future, John just mentioned 10 years, very long time, and the future, we're lucky if we can figure out what's going to happen next month, let alone 10 years from now. So we have to be prepared for those changes. I think Sun River has done a good job putting together lots of plans like this, and this is a big one, a fat one. But it was just done in 2023, Parks and Recreation Facilities Master Plan. And I have on my desk here a whole stack of other plans that some dating back to 2012, some quite recent, that I think have done a pretty good job. I agree with her. We need they kind of pull all those plans and anticipations, ideas, thoughts into a comprehensive capital improvement plan. So we prioritize those things between like a street or path improvement versus building a whole new facility, and then identify the approximate cost and approximate funding. So we have, I think, a more clear path than we do now, at least as I read these documents, as to how all that can tie together. But I think it's extremely important. We've already touched on society is changing, technology is changing. We have to be prepared to, as best we can, through focus groups, through research, we're talking to other communities, figure out not necessarily what's the next big thing, but what are some of the good things that are likely coming down the road to resort style communities. So that I think is something that I would put us in a good position for the next 10 years down the road.
Great, thank you very much. All right, well, those are the 4 questions that we started with today that were preset. And I want to remind all of our viewers that if you have a specific question you would like asked, you can type it into the chat portion of the Zoom and it will get to me. While we're waiting for our next question, I have a question for all our candidates. Which amenities in Sunriver do you enjoy the most? And which amenities do you know exist, but maybe you've never used? Let's start with John Vogel.
Okay, I'll start. It's often said that the pathways are our most popular amenity. But when I walk on the pathways, I realize, and I mentioned this in an earlier question, it's not the pathways, it's the 1,000 acres of land that you get to enjoy as you walk through the pathways. So I think that is probably the number one. And pathways are probably the thing I use the most because I like to go for a walk every day. But I also want to recognize there's amenities I will never use, and that's fine. I'm happy to pay for them. I had never used a swing set until I had a grandchild. And Fort Rock Park on a Saturday afternoon is rocking. So it doesn't matter whether I go. There are a lot of people there. Let's see. I have done Pentonk. Well,
Do you use the shark?
shark?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Everybody uses a shark.
Well, not everybody.
So yeah, that's roads. I enjoy plowed roads in the winter. Those are also amenities.
Mhm. Well,
Keep that in mind.
it is easy to overlook everything that SROA covers. John Hitt, do you have some special favorites?
Yeah, I vote for me, at least personally, shark number 1. I would vote the pathway maybe number 1, except for I shouldn't say much of the year, for part of the year. For me, they're just too crowded. I walk, I don't ride, I don't skate. So I always feel about ready to get run down. That may be just my psychology that's out of whack there. But so I know part of this Parks and Recreation Master Plan talks about that and talks about developing unpaved pathways that are open only to pedestrians. And so bicyclists or motorized vehicles aren't allowed on there anyway, but it seems they still manage to creep in. But at any rate, so that would be probably my second choice is to develop more unpaved dirt type or gravel or whatever the surface might be, pathways. And probably the one, and I feel kind of guilty about this because I used to live on a river for many years, is I've never really taken advantage. My wife has, but I haven't, of the Deschutes River and the recreational opportunities there, which I think is a great thing. There's a lot of that in this master plan, and I think that's a great thing for Sunriver to, already a lot has been done, but to do even more to make that river a great, again, destination recreation opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you, John. Kara?
Um, for me, the answer seems to be dependent on the time of the year. Um, so this time of year, I'm out on the paths absolutely every day. And I think as John Vogel said, you know, it's not just the paths, it's kind of where the paths are. Being in nature. I'm often on a bicycle. I'm every morning on a run with my dog. And so the paths are high use amenity for me, as is the river. So we have kayaks, we enjoy the river, we enjoy floating the river on a nice summer evening, sometimes paddling upstream. But the river is a big one for us. Fort Rock Park, honestly, since we had little ones in our lives, we haven't made much use of it. But at some point we will again in the future, I'm sure. I use the gym at Shark, so I kind of feel like I use a smattering of them. Occasionally, I will use the dog park, which hasn't been mentioned, but I'm honestly kind of not a big fan of that park because my dogs need a bath every time we go. When we come home, before they can come in the house, they get too dirty. But you know, for the most part, it really does depend on the season. And we tend to be winter and summer people here. We're skiers. We love the snow here. So we take advantage of all of those things. And I kind of want to build on something that John Vogel said. Just because I don't use an amenity doesn't mean it's not important to the community. And I would liken that to school bonds where I live at home. We never had kids we never had kids, and so we never had kids in the public school. But I will tell you, I voted for every school bond that was ever floated in the community in which I live because I think I'm part of a community and need to support the broader community. And I feel that same way about amenities here that are important to others that I may never use.
Well, thank you very much. And we are going to be wrapping things up here as our community doesn't seem to have many questions. You have been very thorough in your answers and responses. And I do believe that the people in our community have a really good idea of who they're voting for when the election occurs. We're going to give each candidate now 1 minute, just kind of to summarize and give a closing remark. And then I'll tell you a little bit about how to vote and when to vote. All right, so let me set my timer here and we'll start with John Hitt. If you'd like a closing remark.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Gwen, and the others that organized this, and for those that were there in the conference room or watched online. Appreciate everybody's attendance. Uh, I think I would be a good fit for the existing board. I haven't been to nearly as many board meetings as John Vogel, but I've been to a couple. And I think that the way they conduct their business and the relationship, the level of discourse would be very comfortable for me, and I think I'd be a good fit with that. I'm also the kind of person that is not a status quo person. I don't like to just say, "Hey, everything's good. Let's not rock the boat." I have a strong proclivity to rocking boats, even boats that are pretty stable. Sometimes not to my personal benefit, but where I see a need, I'm going to advocate for it in a positive way. I'm not going to attack anybody or yell epithets or make nasty comments on social media. That seems to be the dominant way of expressing opinions today. And I think that when those discussions, when those reviews, when you talk about goals, when you talk about money, when you talk about rules and regulations, and a new set of rules and regs are being talked about now, we have to respect everyone's viewpoint and try to develop as broad consensus and a direct and reasonable pathway to achieve that consensus. So that's why I feel like I would be a good fit for the SROA board of directors.
Thank you very much, John. And just so Kara and John Vogel know, I didn't stop John at a minute. I gave him 2 minutes. So go ahead and take advantage of the little bit of time.
Sorry,
we
I
have.
went over it.
No, don't apologize. We don't have many questions tonight. So I don't want to interrupt you. It's pretty cool that we can give you time. So go ahead, Kara.
So Sun River has been an important part of my life for 25 plus years. I feel like I'm at a time in my life where I can put my professional and personal experiences to work for Sun River. I'm running because I care deeply about what happens long-term with this community, short-term what happens with this community. My dogs are weighing in on that. I have participated on the finance committee in Sun River for about the last year or so with John Vogel as well. And I always feel like that's a great spot, the finance committee of any organization, to figure out how a place is working and running. And what I've seen has deeply impressed me. I feel like the board members that I have met and have worked with would be great partners to work with. And as we take this community forward, I have a ton of experience solving hard problems in complex organizations. And I kind of like sorting out mess and finding answers in the mess. Not that we have mess, but when you look to the future, those are just big, meaty problems to go tackle. And I think I can bring some skills to helping Sun River tackle those problems. And I think they're good problems that we are facing. I would hope that I can continue the board's work in being transparent and listening to the community and finding ways to engage with the community. And so I'd like to bring all of that to bear for the term that this seat would offer me. And I'm looking forward to earning your votes and your trust.
Thank you very much, Kara. And John Vogel, your parting remarks.
Okay. I did not discover Sun River 25 years ago and did not come here ever since I was a little boy. So, I came here almost 10 years ago and I felt like I discovered paradise. It was amazing. I'm so glad I did it. And so I'm running for the board. I don't have any particular axe to grind. I just want to keep this place as wonderful as it was when I found it and as it is today. And I think what I bring is sort of that data-driven approach to decision making, letting data drive my decisions, and making sure that everybody understands that that's where I'm coming from if I have a particular opinion about something. But I'd love to be told I'm wrong with new data. The finance committee was a great introduction to this, and I think people know that a lot of board people come out of the finance committee. Finance committee, you get to see how things run, how organizations spend money is a reflection of their values. Or what they spend it on is a reflection of their values, and how they spend money is also a reflection of their values. I like to say in the finance committee, we were and are thrifty but not cheap. So we're very careful with the money, and I look forward to learning how hopefully the board has similar values in terms of where they spend their time. I mentioned wildfires. And I know there's a new task force for that I think the board set up recently. And I think that's an example of, okay, here's a concern everybody has. We could do nothing on one end, or we could pave Sun River over on the other. What can we do in the middle, and what are the trade-offs? And all decisions have trade-offs. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve on the board should I be voted in. And I appreciate the chance to do this.
Thank you, John. So Just so everybody watching knows, you are a huge help to all of us in our community. Just by tuning in today and paying attention to who our candidates are. But you need to know that this forum will be posted on the SROA website and on Sunriver U YouTube TV. And please tell your neighbors and friends to check out the video and get to know who your board members are. I mean, maybe you'll see somebody running down the path or working out at the gym, and you two can say hello and thank them for stepping up. Because without the volunteers, this community would not be what it is. And I want to thank everybody for joining in today. And please enjoy the beautiful place that we live in. And share with your neighbors, talk to them, make sure they know that the board is representative of us. Thank you very much.
Vote day,
Oh, what?
voting, didn't you want to?
Oh, I'm supposed to tell you about voting. Sorry, I forgot that step. So the election begins in July. Do we have the date? July
I think.
July 8th to August 8th. You will be voting electronically, and each property gets one vote. So if you own two properties, you get two votes. But if in your house you have three adults, you still get one vote. So it's very important to know it's by property, one vote. You'll be given an email blast from SROA letting you know that it's time to vote. You go to the ballot, and together with the board election will be the capital transfer fee vote as well. That's all on the same ballot. And just remember, it's important to vote. You're a part of the community. Make your voice matter. Thank you very much.